Our next reader, Marie A. Hulme from Weston, Connecticut, is going to read from her first prize-winning novel, Bridget's Peace. And she also won a prize for her, second prize for her memoir entry.
Thank you, Eileen, and thank you to Joanna Catherine Scott and Linda Joy Myers for their very kind recognition of my work. Set in Belfast, Northern Ireland, during the time of sectarian violence known as the Troubles, Bridget's Peace examines the need for luminosity, for transcendence and beauty in the face of evil and as a path towards the divine. It considers how the creative process itself offers a place of reconciliation, as well as a vehicle for forgiveness of self and of others through the character of a young artist, Bridget Donegan. My reading is dedicated to the memory of the McStalker sisters of Belfast. Prologue, Belfast, 1972. The two youngest sisters skipped towards their father's old black car, parked as it always was in front of the Cross Keys pub. He had promised them a ride to school. The morning was dismally gray and cold. The wind huffed in from the hills beyond the city, spinning up the dirt and debris on the street and rattling dustbin lids. It was still early, though curtains were opening in the windows of the Victorian row houses and milk bottles were being taken in from front gardens. In one window, a handmade sign read, "Provost's Rule," in crude black letters. They linked arms and sang a song. It was the one they sang when they jumped rope with their sisters in the street. "I'm well chuffed you girls are learning your Irish," their father said, walking behind them. Then one sister pulled away from the other. "I'll beat you there," shouted Rose. The younger twin began to run, a straight ponytail moving as if behind a chestnut colt. She had her favorite rag doll in her arms. She was never without it. Her black patent leather shoes sparkled like onyx against the gray, damp pavement. "You'll never beat me at anything," Lily called after her, running hard to catch her sister, deep red corkscrew curls flapping from side to side. Her cream plush teddy bear swung from one hand. They both wore the green plaid pleated uniform skirt of St. Mary's Primary School. Their white blouses had been crisply ironed by their mother that morning, and the green school ties flapped behind them like a stripe of the tricolor flag. Lily passed Rose as they drew closer to the car. Mrs. Grady was just opening the door of the pub and waved. Her husband had been among the men rounded up by the British the previous year, and she ran the Cross Keys with her son. Neither sister heard their father call out to them. He was laughing as he paused to light a cigarette. For a brief moment, his eyes settled on the car. It appeared to be lower down on its wheels than normal. Lily opened the door. A flash of bright light temporarily blinded him. Something lifted the girls up high into the air. For a split second, they each instinctively recognized that moment from the womb when their limbs had been indistinguishable, entangled, and they were again. It was as if their bodies were dancing together slowly, as they often did around the front parlor. There was lightness, as if they were fairies or birds. Their father ran towards the car as they fell. First for Lily, for she had been closest to the car, and then for Rose, who had followed her sister just as she had through that long, dark tunnel towards life. There was no pain. The doll was flung on its side in a pile of shattered glass next to the twisted metal of the rear door that hung from the car like a broken arm. The cream bear, blackened, was thrown to the middle of the street. They lay, Lily's feet crossed over Rose's arms, nearby, silent as when they had begun their journey together 5 years before. In a moment, Bridget was out the door and into the street, where billowing black smoke burned her eyes and caught in her throat. Her father's wailing pounded in her head. She saw Mrs. Grady on her knees in front of the pub. She thought she saw a starling drifting up in the air somewhere, seeming to flap its wings against the wind, but then it crashed down to the pavement. The bells of St. Mary's rang the 8 o'clock hour, the church's spire barely visible through the darkened sky. In the distance, there was gunfire. Thank you.